I'm a tiny taggart in a brave new world, gonna free this town. If you didn't know about me already, well, you know it now.
Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Objectivist Girl, if you haven't met me already. And that was my song Shrug. Hopefully that'll be an Atlas Shrugged Part 3 of the movie. And behind me you'll see the Free State Project flag because I'm filming in New Hampshire at the Free State Project headquarters. So today we're going to be talking about the top 5 news stories in December. So I want to start with Obama's speech in Kansas. Okay, so Obama said some things that aren't exactly true, but that's not really that surprising. So there was a great article in Forbes about Obama's speech. Obama claims that we've tried capitalism in the past and it hasn't worked, so it's time for less freedom. I would disagree entirely. We have been less capitalistic over the course of 100 years and even before that. But let's just stick with the last 100 years now that we're coming up on the anniversary of the Federal Reserve. So the Federal Reserve allows the government to have control over the money in the U.S. Simple math will tell you that the Federal Reserve owns the U.S. because when money is printed, it is a labor and therefore is something that needs to be paid for. So every dollar that is printed in the U.S. requires payment on it. That's why they say that the people of the U.S. owe the Federal Reserve more money than exists. This is what is so dangerous about printing money. Also, there's no limit to how much can be printed, so this allows the government to decide what they want to print. This is why there needs to be something like a precious metal that the US dollar is backed by, so there's only a finite amount of printed money for each piece of metal. I'm also going to encourage you guys here that you should invest in Bitcoin because Bitcoin is mined instead of being able to be printed. So it uses math equations and this limits the amount that can be produced. So this creates a more reliable currency. So I really encourage you guys to start using Bitcoin. It's really getting popular. And of course you can use any other currencies that you like. There's meme coin, there's Coinye coin, which is great and you should look up, and Litecoin, other such coins. So I recommend that you use a cyber currency right now because it's only going to get more expensive to invest in those things. So the only thing that government should be taking care of, by the way, is the protection of the rights of the citizens. And that's what any objectivist would tell you. The government should be only in the business of helping citizens protect their rights so that they can freely achieve their own prosperity and happiness. This is the conclusion of any objectivist on the Obama speech. So radicals for capitalism would, as the Declaration of Independence says, use the government only to secure these rights. The right to life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness. Yes, I added property in there because property rights are inseparable from the other three. This is a quote from the Forbes article. So the point is, Obama is pretending that the progressive era, the New Deal, and the Great Society were repealed so that he can blame the financial crisis on capitalism. So that is our first news story that I want to cover. Second news story is marijuana legalization in New Hampshire. Now, I'm not really a pot smoker myself, but I do agree with the right to be able to smoke pot. And I really like the benefits of pot being legalized because we can produce so many cool products with hemp and save a lot of money, and environmentalists would be all over it. If you're an environmentalist and you're not all over this, then you really should look into the legalization of hemp and what it can do. There's hemp paper, there's hemp clothing, there's all sorts of cool hemp products. I think that any American should be free to put anything they like into their bodies as long as they're not harming others. Objectivists would agree. Objectivism holds that the sole purpose of government is to secure their right to live free from force. This implies property rights and economic freedom, but equally it implies liberties of speech and other aspects of private life, such as sexual, religious, and dietary conduct. This means that we have a right to carry around large sodas, smoke pot, or drink gasoline if we like. I find it's not in my rational self-interest to do any one of these things, but for some people, smoking pot makes them happy, and this is all right. The crime is not smoking pot. The crime is what some people do while on pot, though I have not heard of anyone hurting anyone while being on pot since Reefer Madness came out. If someone hurts or murders someone or destroys property on pot, they should be put in jail for the act against someone else, not the act against themselves. We can't punish people for destroying their bodies any more than we can punish them for destroying a priceless vase that they own. It's their property and they can do with it as they please. They have a right to smash the vase. So this legislation is a good step in a positive freedom direction for New Hampshire. I only hope that more states will follow their lead. That is our second story. Third story is Egypt's new constitution. So Egypt has just enacted a new constitution, and there's some good things and there's some bad things about this constitution. So we're going to go over that and what objectivism thinks about it. So the main issues with the new constitution is the role of religion and the military. So both will have a stronger role in Egypt and in the lives of the people. So objectivists would say that both of these have negative consequences for the liberty and freedom of Egypt. So religion should be separated entirely from government. Religion is only subscribed to by a certain number of people, and when other people are ruled by a religion of others, they're not free to make their own decisions. A stronger military will be an issue for freedom. Strong militaries have the ability to enforce tyranny over people and natural rights, which I talked about in my last video. So the new constitution, however, does do some good things. It gives more freedom and individual rights for Egyptians. The new constitution is seen as providing more rights and freedoms in general, with more rights for women, the media, and minorities. It states explicitly that women are equal to men, allowing them to hold office and judicial posts. So I fully support this. Any objectivist would, because all people are equal regardless of race, skin color, gender, anything else. The new article criminalizes torture, discrimination, and arbitrary forced displacement from which Christians have suffered in times of sectarian strife. It also mandates that the state must abide by international human rights agreements signed by Egypt. So this is good because any force over any group of people is bad, or just one person is bad. So I may not agree with religion, but I certainly don't want Christians to be forced to do anything, because they're people and they have the right to make their own decisions about their lives. Whether I agree with them or not, it has nothing to do with me. As long as their beliefs don't violate my natural rights, then that's perfectly acceptable. So the final important aspects of the Egyptian constitution that is worth mentioning is the right of parliament to withdraw confidence from the president. This is important because all the people will put pressure on parliament to vote no confidence. This will allow the people to influence the decision of the president and give them greater overall freedom. You can check out the amendments at the link below for news topic number 3. So the fourth thing that I'd like to go over is the license plate readers in New Hampshire. So I know I do a lot of New Hampshire focused things, but there's a lot of really cool things going on in New Hampshire. Like I said, you guys should really move here because we're trying to create more freedom. And this is just one of the things that I know a lot of liberty-oriented legislators are fighting right now. So license plate readers. On January 8th, there apparently will be a vote to allow license plate readers in the state of New Hampshire, HB 675 for those of you who would like to vote. Currently, the only license plate readers authorized for use in New Hampshire are at Easy Pass toll booths. So license plate readers are a serious civil liberty and privacy concern. Even law enforcement is not too keen on it, saying in their 2011 report by the International Association of Chiefs of Police, recording driving habits could implicate First Amendment concerns. Specifically, LPR systems have the ability to record vehicle attendance at locations or events that, although lawful and public, may be considered private. For example, Mobile LPR units could read and collect the license plate numbers of vehicles parked at addiction counseling meetings, doctor's office, health clinics, or even staged areas for political protests. So this may be small concerns, but it is totally possible in a state where we are allowing more and more state control. So this is a legitimate concern. So there are concerns over this information being linked to the IRS, which is a major violation of privacy to the individual. It's bad enough that a cop can identify an individual that is in a car simply by looking up their license plate, but to allow them to record us is a whole new issue. Citizens deserve to use their vehicles as they please. As long as they don't harm others, I see no issue in speeding or any other violations. It's only a violation of someone's right if another person is hurt when someone is doing something reckless. Up until someone is hurt, we have a right to do as we please. So the fifth thing that I would like to talk about is the U.S. economy continues to show consistent growth. So there was a news story about the U.S. economy growing and prospering, and you'll see these stories quite frequently. It's mainly the government trying to convince you that they're doing a good job. So most of the jobs that this poll is speaking about are government jobs. And a lot of people would say, well, jobs are jobs. That's not true. So while this employs people, it only does it temporarily. Most government jobs are temporary, used to fix roads or build trenches, and then people are again unemployed. Also, the unemployment rate doesn't take into account those workers who have stopped looking. This is the majority of Americans now because we have grown tired of looking and would rather stop to get welfare checks instead of looking. This creates a society that is lazy and tired of looking and discouraged. Mainly discouragement. The laziness, not as much as the discouragement. I understand what it is like to feel discouraged by looking for employment because my last job I lost because I was laid off because the business had to go out, and it was very unfortunate because they couldn't fund their business anymore because taxation was way too high, and it was a small business too. Also, the private sector pays more and does a better job of decreasing unemployment than the government ever will. This is the major point that I want to make. So this is because they have resources to provide stable jobs in their niche market and have the time to learn to be competitive because they're only in one corner of the market versus the US government, which is trying to be in all parts of the market and can't specialize correctly in every one of them. Finally, the biggest issue with government jobs is that they're paid for by taxes from other hardworking Americans. This means that we are simply reproportioning wealth from one worker to another simply to say that more people are employed. Does this seem like a good idea to you? I don't think so. So this has been my Objectivist Girl news vid. You can check this out at the end of each month, or really the beginning of the next month is really when you can check it out. Please make sure that you read the first 5 chapters of Anthem before my next video. I'll be doing 2 videos next week. One of them will be discussing the first 5 chapters in Anthem. It will be very clear even if you don't decide to read the book, so please join me even if you haven't read the chapters. So I've also included links to all of the articles that I've talked about in this video so that you can learn more information about the things that I've talked to you about. I encourage you, of course, to look at the news yourself and consider what objectivism might have to say. So I've also included links to my Facebook, Twitter, and blog so you can check those out and hear even more from me. And I've also included a link to my music, so you can check out the rest of my song Shrug if you haven't already. And I hope that you'll join me next week and you'll let me know what you thought of my first news video. So it's been a pleasure and I'm glad you guys could join me. Until next week, remember, knowledge is not for all men, but for those who seek it. So keep seeking.